this podcast, and I've enjoyed this. We're going to make this a regular thing, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is great, Zach. I'm happy that we've decided to go forward. I think you and I are definitely simpatico on things that we like to do, and I've enjoyed these last two podcasts. So making this a weekly deal is, I think, it's going to be great for us, and hopefully for the coaches that are listening too.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, blocking, right? O line
Blocking.
play. I think that's forgotten at definitely the youth and high school level. People just forget about it sometimes, and that you can't do that if you want to be a good program. That's not something you can forget about and be any good for any significant amount of time.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that, and I'm glad you said high school because my two boys played high school here in Texas, and they were like, we learned more blocking at the youth level than we did at middle school and high school.
Oh
And it was
wow.
like they already expected them to kind of know what to do and
Mhm,
didn't really teach some of the techniques and things they needed to do. So that
mhm.
was always very interesting. And I do know from just talking to a lot of coaches, my first question when I talk to a coach that says, well, I'm having trouble doing this or this with my offense, the first question I ask is, what's your blocking call? What's
Right,
your first
right.
rule? And if they can't answer that, then well, we're going back to the beginning,
Mhm.
so yeah, what's your blocking call?
Oh yeah. I mean, so I guess the high school level, it's a little different. We had base rules for certain plays.
Right,
So, if we're running, just for example, we're running belly, which is ISO,
right,
then our play side was inside, over, outside. And then our backside rule was scoop, like scoop the play side gap. And then if we're running like a gap scheme, I liked gap on backer because gap down backer, if you have a guy that's head up, that can become a little
that's a little
tricky.
fishy if your partner on the outside doesn't know or he's covered that you've got kind of this unblocked dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
was a defensive coordinator for a long time. And when we played wing T teams, I would play a lot of guys head up, like 2 techniques, 6 techniques,
great, yeah.
because it's what do they do with that, and then you can get into the back hip of the guards pulling. You can outnumber them on the edge, so they have to. You kick out. They go to kick out a guy, but there's another guy outside. So if you spill it to an unblocked player. So the gap on backer became something I did as a line coach when I called plays at the high school level because it helped with those types of fronts.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because my when I get to older teams, I'm usually down blocking for younger
Hmm.
teams. But for older teams, we use golf, which is gap on linebacker, then free to hunt.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, so if for some reason there's not a backer close, we're looking for whoever
Hmm.
then to hunt that's near or far. So that really has worked out well to us. We used to call it gold, which is gap on linebacker nearest defender. But the
Okay.
free to hunt has really let the youth guys know I can move to second and third level versus kind of standing around
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
hole.
Well, it's so. I love the fact you said that because when I help coach the youth offensive line that I'm helping with, uh, a lot of times they don't see somebody or they know who to block. They don't know who to block. They just stand there,
Yeah,
and you're like, man, get
exactly.
downfield, like go that way, like go downfield, and like you said, free to hunt. I need to adopt that and use that.
Yeah, I came up with this musical chairs drill
Mm.
for the linemen. You'll set up your offensive line, the seven guys, and then you'll set up a defense, and you tell them, okay, we're going to do this rule. Go either pick up a bag because we set bags out, or pick up a cone, so we know that you found somebody to block
Hmm.
or coaches. And then what I'll do is I'll take like one side, I'll move guys, the defenders to the third level. So one side of the offensive line,
Oh wow.
there's
Okay.
nobody head up or no linebacker.
Hmm.
And you see what those guys will do. And it's like, you'll go, and half of them will stand there because
Hmm.
they don't know what to do. It's like, no, we're hunting. You can go get the guy at the third level.
I
So
like that.
we start teaching them to get off the line. And that's really helped us get away from them just standing in the hole. Of course, it still
Mhm.
happens. I mean, I did it. I'm sure you did it as a player every now and then. You're like, where's the back? I've held this block forever.
Right, right. This guy needs to run past me at
Yeah,
some
can
point.
he can
Yeah.
he get out of the backfield anytime soon? We
Yes.
can't hold the 5-second block here for you, dude.
No. And that's the beauty of playing offensive line is that it's an unselfish position, and you have to be willing to do hard things that other positions don't do. Right? I mean, other positions get the
Yeah.
ball thrown to them or handed off, or the quarterback hands the ball, throws it, runs it, and I think people like we talked about forget that the offensive line is a skilled position to some degree. That you have to have a certain amount of technique to be good at what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, and I definitely think that forgetting and a lot of youth coaches. I know I've coached with a few of them, and I've loved the guys, but they're focused on their six running backs.
Oh, they have six. That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
they'll
a lot
they'll
of
have their
dudes.
well, they'll have their six guys out of 20, and they'll just focus on those guys and not really. I mean, usually on a U team you have 20 guys, 25. So if you're
Hmm.
only focused on six, you've got this 18 to 20 players that are standing around going, "What are we doing in practice?"
Yeah,
Other than, "Hey,
I've heard about that. Yeah.
we want you to go hit this guy. We'll run this goofy drill." So yeah, the focus and the skill I think is
Mhm.
forgotten. And the other thing that's forgotten, I think, with blocking at the youth level, and maybe you could tell me at the high school level too. I see a lot of coaches, they'll make up their own plays or they'll have a playbook, but maybe that playbook hasn't incorporated how the backs are supposed to actually block too in
Mm,
the play and who they're
mm,
supposed to pick up. And so you have this whole line call which works, but then they forget about, well, usually there's one or two players that the line won't pick up their own edges, or you've split block and they've got to get the backer. And did you
mhm,
teach your backs to block also?
mhm,
And what techniques are you using there?
mhm.
And I
Yeah.
talk to a lot of coaches that don't coordinate those things together.
Mm. I have to say for our youth team, our head coach has done a great job of teaching the backs how to block, who to block.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
great.
but that's not, like you said, that's not most teams. And I've even been around, like you were saying, high school. I've been around high schools that don't teach it or teach it well. Uh, and it's those schools usually aren't very good to be candid. And or they're good just because their guys are that much better than everybody else's. But yeah, you have to teach it. That's something that's a skill, like to teach the backs how to block, who to block. And that takes a special kind of coach. It's got to be a guy that is willing to push those skill players, because that's not something they want to do, right? They don't want to block, especially like the ends or things of that nature, or linebackers. So you have to be able to inspire them to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big key. And a lot, I know I played back in high school
Hmm.
and I've coached backs for a long time too. And I mean, you don't really want to block as a back. And I know one of the guys in our youth forum over on Facebook is always like, if you don't block, you don't carry the rock.
Hmm.
And so backs forget that if you actually block for the other backs, you're probably getting 20 yards or a touchdown because you've hit second and third level.
Oh yeah, for
And I
sure, 100%.
and I think they don't get that strategy, that if
Hmm.
they block for each other, I mean, we've had backs arguing with each other. You don't block enough for me, so I'm not going to block for you. Have you
Oh
seen
no,
this in the backfield?
I have seen this as a player and as a coach. I've
And
seen
it,
I've
it
seen
was
both.
like, come on, man, really? Are you guys going to argue over this?
Hmm. I remember one place I coached. We were wing T, and one of the backs who didn't block very well. He was a really good natural runner. He didn't block very well. Was getting on the offensive line one practice, and I was young and I lost it a little bit on this guy. Like, how dare you chastise the O line and you don't block worth a flip? Like, you can't. You have no room to talk. And the team like looked at me, and because everybody knew he didn't give great effort blocking, and his blocking got better because he was like, "Oh, I'm being held accountable. Like, I have to help."
Yeah, I would say 80% of those really super stud outside runners probably don't really want to block anybody because
Hmm.
they're so good running outside because half of them just don't want to get tackled. I know I've talked to a
Right.
lot of my
Right.
guys.
Of course.
They're like, "How are you so good?" I'll ask them. I'm like, "Well, I hate to get tackled, so I just outrun everybody."
Right.
And so they
Right.
don't want that contact anyway. So that whole blocking thing is definitely suspect there.
Mm.
So
And I was looking at you sent me these awesome notes, by the way. These are really good. I can tell like your brain was working. I mean, your brain's always working, but like you were really going through just your thoughts about blocking and general notes and what to teach and how did you come up with all that? Because that's really good stuff. I'm reading it like right here on the paper I printed out what you sent me.
yeah, I mean, the first thing is I didn't want to be embarrassed because I knew you were a college offensive lineman,
Oh,
and you know
stop.
you're smart too. So that was the first thing is I wanted to make sure I was prepared. But I had great coaches growing up.
Mm,
John Lewis, my travel select guy in Houston, and then Coach O'Neill at middle school, who almost made the Oilers, which was great. And then Ron Schrader, who was Drew Brees' coach. He was my running back and linebacker coach in
oh
high
shoot.
school. And so Coach Hatfield too on defense. But these guys just, I mean, I've been really fortunate to have those
Mm,
great coaches. And then the Cool Clinic, if anybody's not familiar with the Cool Clinic, it's the NFL
mhm,
clinics for those coaches. I bought that stuff almost 2 decades ago now, all their
mm,
videos when it was on DVD. Now you can get it online. Those guys have been great. And then I just, for me being a lineman up until my freshman year in high school, about 6 years, you just learn all that stuff.
mhm,
You just kind of pick it all up. And then now I've read and uh, I guess my third year of coaching or second year, so it had been my third year. I snapped and thought, and it's weird because I was a lineman
mm.
for so long that hey, these linemen are smarter than we're giving them credit for. I
Ah,
need to
okay.
really start coaching all these different calls, all these different techniques, and push them as much as the running backs. And
Mm,
when I made that transition, we,
mm.
our win percentage went up, our whole IQ of football went up, and that really helped. So yeah, so and like I said, I'm a research guy, so I'm a nut like that.
I love one of the bullet points says your offensive linemen are skilled players too, and you must think of them that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to give
Yeah,
them tools in the toolbox for them to give them tools so they can perform at the best of their ability.
yeah, and I always hear, I've got a small offensive line. What can I do? Well, there's
Mhm,
techniques to overcome that. There's down blocks. A lot of folks forget the scramble or crab block
mhm,
where you're lower than the guy and where you place your hands. I mean, I'm sure you know that hip joint. If you hit that hip joint, those guys, I mean, there's all these little
mhm,
techniques that you can give the smaller guys confidence.
mhm,
And so if you're teaching the technique to give your smaller guys and bigger guys the confidence to overcome whatever they go up against, then they feel like they can do anything. And
mhm.
so it really becomes the techniques and what you're giving your players to build their confidence to start thinking, oh, I can do this and not be afraid.
Mm. I love this one too. There's a bunch of bullet points I like. This one says, "Must have a great O line coach that's knowledgeable in a motivator that makes it fun. This is a key to a championship team." Yeah, I mean, O line's probably the hardest position to play, and those guys need to be motivated to play that position because that's like the last position you get to, right? Every kid wants to be a quarterback or a running back, and then you find your way to O line because you can't play anywhere else, and then you have to motivate those guys to play well.
Yeah. You know, I think most people, and even I did it as an 8 year old. Here I'm a fat little chubby 100 pounder at eight.
Jeez.
And, my aunt was like, untuck your shirt. You look too fat.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I'm this, and I wanted to be a fullback. I mean, everybody wants to carry the
Ah,
ball. And
yeah.
even up to this day,
Mhm.
who really wants to block on the O line because it's not glorified.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a glorified position that everybody pats everybody on the back when the back goes score. or the receivers score, everybody's high-fiving in the end zone. The linemen are downfield, just I'm not running down there and wasting my energy.
Right. They're tired. They're tired. They need a break.
They've been beat up. So no one is, some of the quarterbacks, and I've heard Tom Brady here recently talk about that was the first guys he would always celebrate with, and then he would run into the end zone. So I think just making sure as a coach that you glorify your O line, and that when the team scores or the running back scores, it's a team effort. And I think that's been a big help for us. I know, like when we run power plays like tank or a wedge or anything up in the A or B gaps and our back scores, we give touchdown stickers to our linemen
Oh
too.
yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
And so they kind of get that. So I think coaches need
Hmm.
to think about that. As far as the getting the right coach, what I see, and maybe you see this at the high school level too sometimes, is they'll just put a coach that hasn't coached the O line or even played O line before
Hmm.
over with the lineman. And
Hmm.
so they're struggling to teach anything. And even if 8-year-olds, they can tell if you're knowledgeable or not, or know what
Hmm.
you're doing. And so if you're not really knowledgeable, I think that motivation for the player goes down because they're just kind of standing around. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, have you
Oh
seen this?
yeah. I mean, at the high school level, the teams that are good programs have a guy coaching the O line that's knowledgeable, like a guy
Right,
that knows how this works. He knows their scheme. He's planned. He has a plan for practice. Is what I mean when I say he's
right,
planned. Like he has a plan for practice, and that plan is also coupled with like the coach's overall practice plan.
right.
Because I mean, I've seen practices where a coach is a skill coach and he thinks individual needs to be 30-35 minutes like during the season, and that's not good for the O-line. Like the O-line needs individual work, but then they need like group work,
Teamwork. Yeah, they need
teamwork,
the
because
team.
they have to work together.
Right.
And that's where, when I've been around good programs or when I was a head coach, not saying we were always like great wins and loss wise, but we were organized to where, hey, we need this amount of time to get good at the fundamentals, but then we need a group team session to put this stuff together.
Right.
Because that's what the line is like. It's a choreography. It's like a dance, right? It's like what's a
Yeah, that's
choreography? Is that the word, right?
yeah,
It's
that's a great
choreographed,
yeah, that's a great word for that because everybody's moving in unison
right?
to make
Right.
sure it works. It is a dance. I mean, it's funny you say choreography because when I teach the wedge, I call it the wedge dance because it's a choreographed team thing. Do you need to take that, coach?
I'm gonna turn my microphone off. Sorry, that went there. Had a school microphone go off there. Or, not microphone. That's a
Walkie talkie.
walkie-talkie. There you go.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're absolutely right. It's definitely a choreographed dance of how do we get this to all work together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where coming back to that coach thing, you I know I've told, and I know a lot of guys tell as a head coach for a U team, usually your best effort is if you as a head coach take the offensive line.
That's a
So you
fact.
make sure that gets the attention, and it tells the kids that it's that important if you as the head coach are doing it.
Hmm.
And so the important level raises up, and you'll take the time to study and make sure how that works. Or you find somebody. I mean, like I was lucky that Coach O'Neill, that in my middle school, seventh, eighth, and ninth grade, we got held back to our middle school for they were building a new high school. He had almost made the Oilers as a center, and
Oh shoot.
so he taught us all kinds of stuff
Mm,
technically, and I can't say enough about what he taught us as an offensive line. So
mm,
and he was always joking, motivating, and then he was a hard ass when it was
mm,
time to do that. But
mm,
we all loved him and would run through a wall for
mm.
him. And
That's
yeah,
great advice when you said like the head coach should probably be the O line coach or be involved in that.
Yeah.
I was given that advice a couple of years ago by a friend of mine, and it's cool to hear good coaches. This goes to a bigger point. It's cool. It's cool to hear good coaches like yourself and my friend say those things, because to me that means it's true. Like if I hear that from more than one person and almost the same vernacular, like the same words, but
Yeah.
he said it the same way, that makes it to me in my brain like, oh yeah, that's something that definitely is a football truth. We need to do that, especially at the high school and youth level.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got it from Jack Reed in his book, Coaching Youth Football, a long time ago. If you guys haven't read that as a youth coach, there's a couple of standards you should read. He's, please read my stuff, but he's one of the guys that is a standard along with Dave Caesar and Jack Gregory in the youth area that has some good stuff that everybody should read as a kind of their base standards.
Mm. Yeah, and everybody should definitely read your stuff too. I was reading it last night. I go through the playbooks and stuff, and that's like my nighttime reading at home. And how this is not like blocking necessarily, but how do you find the time to put together all your material? Because you have a bunch that's really good. How do you organize your time to do that?
It's really difficult. I mean, I'll be honest right now. I've probably got a list of 6 books I'm halfway through and haven't finished, and I'm trying to decide which one. And I've been so indecisive, none of them are done. But I'll get what'll happen is a coach. Usually, a coach will ask me for something, and he pesters me, like kind of like you in the podcast, which works out great because I need that motivation. They've pestered me long enough to say, hey, we want to buy this, or we can. A lot of coaches, it's really funny. They'll say, can you look at this and Parkerize it for us for the youth level?
Parkerize. That's a good adjective.
Yeah,
Parkerize this for me.
I hate to say it just because I don't like to toot my own horn, but yeah, a lot of guys are like, can you Parkerize this for us and tone this down, this high school playbook or this college playbook? And that's what I've done. And for a lot of the stuff I've written, I know I wrote a lot of stuff about 3 or 4 years ago based off of what the top formations for youth football were. So all the selected playbooks, the pistol, the T, the wing T books, all of those extra addendum books to the Power Wing Beast offense system. I was getting like, can you write these? And you've got all this other stuff, and so I started, and it took about 2 years, and I went through those 10 formations and just really focused on that, and it's worked out well. Matter of fact, the guy today uh, said, I bought your T formation book a couple years ago. We were like 0-3 and then won the Super Bowl once I got and then we added the B stuff in too. That was also part of because I usually give like 5 or 6 plays in each of those playbooks, like a little beast kind of package. And he goes, yeah, we wrapped that all together and went to the Super Bowl and won the championship with that. So yeah, so that's how I write. It's really kind of can you Parkerize something for us? Because that's, I've got a 353 book that people are asking to Parkerize, the 425, and I've got a split backfield, and then a general book. So there's 4. And then the special teams, I have a draft outs. I'm really good at getting drafts out.
I like it. It's the youth team I'm coaching with is split back,
Oh yeah,
and
I've got a draft that I just haven't put out.
it's beautiful, man. And I was going to say this. I was on the podcast. I think you should do a beast offense for high school. There's another book for you. You got enough going on, but I think that
No,
would be cool.
I know. And it was funny today because I have a beast. I'm glad you brought it. I have a beast Facebook group that's kind of free. I'm competing with a copycat guy, and I was slow to get over there, so we're a little bit behind him. But yeah, a guy was talking about because I posted that West Virginia play that you sent to me.
Yes.
I had just watched it on Dan
Yes.
Casey
Beautiful.
and was like, oh, that is so beautiful. It's like a stack fat cat beast or a stack kind of single wing thing. And beautiful play, absolutely beautiful. So we were looking at that, and this guy put on there, oh, that's a compressed spread. And I was like, oh, yes,
Yes,
that's
absolutely
what
it
I
is.
want to call the beast. It's a compressed spread. But yeah, I agree. I have a high school coach that I've coached with, and he's been asking me, like, come over. I have some ideas to wrap in. I think we could get some ideas from you. So I think there's an opportunity there, probably up the game. I don't know if you saw I just did a formation top formations out of the beast, so you could
Mm,
see there's like 25 variation things that you could do with it: spread,
mhm,
press, make some moves. So I think there is definitely some opportunity there. But
mhm,
I think the base plays right now, there's 5 or 6 as a short yardage package you can easily as a high school implement.
mhm. Oh,
So
shoot. I mean, I think your material is definitely high school level, in my opinion. I've seen high school playbooks that are not nearly as detailed as yours, and I've seen people base out of, like, in West Virginia. There's a program called Bridgeport, and they were stick eye, like, and won a bunch of state championships. Now they're single wing, and you can be like couple of formations and run power football and win a ton of games. You don't have to have
yeah.
all these different variations. Now, if you do, that's fine too. But you can run something that only has a couple of formations but has really good plays, and you can take advantage of whatever the defense gives you.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, and that's what we've done a long time with really tight and wide and kind of the spread when there's been three. But I know a lot of folks want it to be expanded into these other things. So yeah, there's that. But yeah. So what a blocking should we get back to? I mean,
Oh man, I
I
like it.
know
So
we're not talking about me, but I appreciate it.
yeah, I love it. So it says, I like this bullet point. If you can expertly block, you can do anything you want on offense, even with a mediocre backfield. Amen to that. I've done that for years as a head coach, the high school level. That definitely is true.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, and I've had couple of super studs before. I had like two of the fastest kids in Colorado at one
Mm,
point on my team, and that makes life a lot easier to coach because you can run sweeps all day and then run power up the middle and cool things like that. But once you get on a team where you haven't been lucky enough to get a super like a tier one back,
mhm.
you have to really learn how to block. And I think that's good for any coach is to not have the Tom Brady on their team. Can you win?
Tom Brady, I like that.
Well,
Tom
I mean,
Brady.
can Belichick win without that? I mean,
No, he can't.
it brings us all back down to earth, kind of like Sean Payton. Can he win without Drew Brees?
Mm,
You know,
mhm.
so can you win with a regular team and at least get 2/3 of your games won and get into the playoff? When you don't have, when I know I'm lacking a lot of tier one guys on my rec team, the
Mhm.
goal for me is to get into the playoffs deep. And if I get in the Super
Okay.
Bowl, it's crazy, but it's
Right.
gravy. But as a coach, you have to kind of know expectation wise where your team is and what you
Mm,
need to do. And so what you need to do is coach them up, and it starts with the majority of players on your team, which are
mhm,
the linemen.
mhm,
And if you can get that blocking down, you can get deep into the playoffs.
mhm.
Do
That's a
you feel
fact.
that way too?
I do, especially like if you coach in a state that the weather can get nasty in like the winter. So it gets cold,
Yes, it's
it gets
beautiful.
rainy, it gets, snow, whatever. Your offense has to be able to withstand that. Like you have to be able to block well, tackle well, and win games when it's 30 degrees outside, because that's just a fact of life. Like when I coached in West Virginia, I coached in Maryland, even in Georgia. Like Georgia, it gets a little chilly there at the end of the year. And your offense has to be able to it has to be physical. I mean, every good football team is physical, but I think it's important to have a style, something in your offense to where like you can just ground and pound when you need to. Like if it's raining, like right now it's raining outside, you need something to where you're not just trying to. I mean, it's good to throw the football, but like if it's pouring down rain, you got to be able to run the football to win.
Or it's windy. Yeah, it's
Or it's
funny
windy.
you
Yeah.
you talk about that. A friend of mine was being forced to install the gun T,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a power guy like us, and he's like, okay, I'm going to do that. You've got your gun T wing, multi wing, and but your B stuff, I'm also going to implement alongside that because I'm not really up to speed on the blocking of the gun T and what the offensive coordinator is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he pushed for the beast stuff to be put in. Their first game, it's a downpour, and they ripped those guys with the beast. And then his whole coaching staff now is beast lovers.
Yeah, they're like, let's just run the beast. Forget this gun T stuff.
Yeah,
Like, let's just run the
yeah,
beast.
yeah, yeah. So you're right. I mean, when the outside weather elements are sucky, this power football stuff works great. So you're
Shoot.
protecting the ball, less fumbles, not a lot of
Mm.
yards lost.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan 2 years ago won a Division I national championship running the football. Like,
Yeah,
and then the Eagles just did it too, basically in the NFL. So there's something to this because I think for a while people got lost in let's just throw the ball around, throw the ball. I mean, the Patriots, even with Brady, they had a good run game.
they had and Dallas used to have a good run game, and they've kind of lost that. But I'm so glad that you said that because I've watched. I normally don't watch a lot of college stuff, but I've watched Arch Manning here in all his games and started watching more college. I'm a big NFL nut with Sunday Ticket, and we do all that. Uh, but I feel like, and I've watched a couple of high school games here recently because they're loading all these clips up of the big high schools around here.
Mm.
It seems to me more quarterbacks are running the ball through real plays versus
Yes.
scrambling.
Yes,
You know, it used to
absolutely.
be they would kind of scramble out of the spread, but it really looks like, and they would do their option, but it really looks like more power quarterback plays are starting to be
Mm-hmm.
run.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like power is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you sending over that picture the other day, I just it was just like it looks like it's happening. And I posted that question in the forums today, and everybody's in agreement. They think power is on its way back in.
Yeah, and the fact that it went away is like, what were people thinking? And I think it's interesting watching college football, pro football, high school football. The scoring has come down because I think defenses have adapted, and now it's hey, let's get back and let's run the football because everybody's doing 7-on-7. A lot of downfield passing. But if the defense is built to stop that, well, what is it probably weaker against? It's let's run the football. Like let's run the football with power run game.
Yeah, I think everything's a big circle. I mean, you know, when everybody was running wishbone power and option out of power I and wishbone and wing T, uh, the spread came out and the defense had a hard. They like, how do we defend this? You know,
Right. Yeah.
and so it was a turning point, and so the spread air raid kind of took off, and so now, like you said, everybody's adapting to that, and
Mhm.
now the wishbone power I beast are
Right.
forward. And defense don't know how to react to that. I
Hmm.
mean, the Philly
Hmm.
tush push, defenses haven't figured out how to stop that yet, even though they may be cheating with their guards taking off first.
Right.
But I think there's something to that you will see more power come because I think these 3-3-5 defenses get shredded by a power team.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and that's
Yeah.
why blocking is power teams block.
And when I look at the footballs I watch on YouTube, the high schools I watch, uh, the ones they're good blockers. Like they're
Yeah.
offensive lines doing like a lot of downfield, blocking, whether they're blocking linebackers as well. Because I find too, like as far as blocking the down guys is obviously important, but the really good teams can get a hat on a hat at the second level and
Yes.
then on the backside sometimes at the third level, and that's why they have explosive plays. Because if
Right.
linebackers aren't making plays, you're going to have first of all, down linemen aren't making plays, then linebackers aren't making plays. Now you're making guys who don't really want to tackle. So
Right.
you have more success on offense.
Let me ask you this because it was one of the things back here, and I heard a college coach or a pro coach talk about it the other day because cornerbacks don't know how to tackle really. Do you block the corner or do you make the back deal with the corner?
Depends on the play. So if it is an interior run play, I would rather the safety push to the. I'd rather, excuse me, the wide receiver push to the safety.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Now, if the corner's in press man, that's not a realistic thing sometimes. But on the if it's a perimeter play, we're going to block the corner.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Yeah. We deal with it as far on the at my youth level is if they can really tackle, we're going to block him. But if he's a
Mm-hmm.
whiffer and it's known on scout, we won't block him. We'll
Mm-hmm.
go to the more linebacker or the safety and just have the back. Hey, you're going to have to get rid of that boy there,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems to work. But if you do have a shutdown corner, you definitely want to block that guy if you're running edge. But yeah, definitely stuff in the middle. We don't worry about the corner as much.
No, and I've played guys who crack, like who push crack.
Yeah.
I've never been a big proponent of that. I don't know why. I just haven't done it in the past. And well, and also because I was in 32 personnel for a year, like
Yeah.
all
You're not.
32
Yeah.
personnel. So there's no there's no push crack with because there's no receiver. But
Right.
um, I think getting the ball to the edge with a lead blocker on a corner or a safety is a really good play
Yeah.
because they're not used to seeing a lineman come out there and get in their way and block them.
Yeah. We'll run a stretch in what I call the dog gap, kind of right at the wingback's butt, and that
Mm,
fullback will lead around. Usually, DNs come up in that corner setting there, and they don't. Those corners don't really like that lead coming at them there at that angle. So we hit
mm,
that ladder angle to the sideline.
mm.
So what do I got here? So let's see. I think I've lost my train of thought here. Other than I just wanted to make sure on the blocking thing to say again is really at the youth level, please coordinate
Mm,
and teach everybody blocking, not
mhm.
just six guys on running backs, or you're just focused on your O line and teaching
Right.
those. That all kind of has to come together.
Mhm,
Like we've learned, I don't know how you teach downfield blocking.
mm.
Like when the back, one of the little things we've taught on downfield blocking, like let's say that because in youth football, a lot of guys are getting called for blocking the backs on downfield blocking when the back
Yes,
breaks.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've definitely
Yeah,
seen
so
that.
I mean, you'll kind of touch his shoulder. You'll run up and kind of just barely touch the shoulder, and right off the bat, they're
Mhm.
calling that. But one of the block techniques that we're doing, both for backs and linemen, if the back takes off and he's like 30 yards away, we just tell and there's nobody near the back. We tell everybody just stop, kind of like
Yeah,
Peter,
right.
right? Just stop. Don't get a penalty at this point. But if he's close enough and there's kind of a defender and you're speedy enough and there's a chaser to the back,
Mm.
we'll have our offensive guy come up, run in front of the defender and just stop.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like
so
that a
there's
lot. Yeah.
no block in the back. So
Mhm.
that's a technique we've been using. If you guys on your downfield blocks have been getting called, blocking the backs, just now he's got to actually get a step ahead and just come over real quick and stop.
Mhm.
And I've seen it in the NFL a couple of times, which is really cool that they're
Mhm.
doing that. But we've had a huge problem with that. Have you seen a lot of that too, or
You see at the high school level too with I mean, when I played, that wasn't that long ago, but the crackback was the thing. Like that was what you were trying to get, but now it's illegal, so you can't do that.
yeah, basically you have to stand there until the guy turns around.
Right. And then if it's too violent, even if it's legal, a lot of times it gets called. Like
Yep.
it really is about how bad does a defender fall. Like if the defender like you hit him and he lands on his head because it's a violent block, they're probably going to throw a flag even
Yep.
if the head's in front. So I've seen like the arms up thing where people go in front of them and just shield them, like you were saying. They're just
Yeah.
shielding the defender from the runner, and I think that's what people are going to, and it's safer for the players as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's safer. One of the things that we've been doing for like receivers, because I know a lot of youth guys, how do we block? I call it a gnat fly kind of block.
A gnat fly, I like
Yeah,
that.
because a gnat is always so we don't need
Right,
a receiver to put a guy on his butt, although that's fine.
right.
But we're trying to get him basically to shuck punch his chest the whole
Mhm,
time and just
mhm,
keep busy like a gnat fly would keep the
right,
defender busy. Because if the guy's busy and he's looking at you, hitting him in the chest and staying on him, the back can make that cut.
right.
But if you hit him one time and you stand there, that's not really working. So if we
Mhm,
can basically follow the guy like a gnat fly, punching him, and at least then get your butt between, like it's almost like a basketball mirror, right? You get your
mhm,
butt between the ball carrier and the defender. That
mhm,
seems to be working for us a lot better. What have
mhm.
you guys done for downfield for like receiver blocking and
Oh,
things
man.
like that?
The the biggest thing I've seen is, 1, blocking the back, like you said before, and then 2, holding calls. So the
Yes.
ball's already 10, 15, 20 yards downfield, and that the receiver is blocking the defender, the ball carrier is going by, and the receiver doesn't let go, and then
Yeah.
you get a holding call when that should be a big run. Now it's a 5-yard run, or something's minimal, because the
Yeah.
receivers didn't know when to let go of the defender. And
Yeah.
that's something you just got to work on a lot in practice.
Yeah, that's why we've gone to this gnat fly thing, and we try to keep our fists together, sort of.
Hmm.
We don't want to be punching, but yeah, I think we get called that a lot because the receivers are engaging, which is I call holding in here real tight
Hmm.
with T-Rex
Hmm.
arm,
Yeah.
which is great inside the tackle box. I mean,
Hmm.
everything's. I think people forget you can do a lot of crazy stuff, blocking the back to the end
Oh
zone,
yeah.
holding. Parents don't really understand that, but like when you get to the tight end and out, I mean, our guys refs are really strict on, you can't engage,
Hmm.
as in hold like that. So we've tried to, shuck punch and keep that kind of thing instead of trying just to engage, because we just, and definitely if you're more than 5 yards down the field, you're going to get called.
Oh yeah. I could think of a bunch of instances where we had a big run, maybe a touchdown run, and it's called back because there's a hold away from the play that didn't affect the play, but it's definitely a hold. So yeah, you got to coach your guys up on what to
Yeah,
do
you
when the
just,
ball
yeah. I
goes
mean,
past
you
them.
can get away with some of it, but yeah, we've had to go to where we're just, if we're outside the tight end, we're not engaging and grabbing
Mm.
anybody because our league is real quick. I know my son, he's 24 now, but he still bitches about a 11U hold that
Right,
we
of
got.
course. Yeah, of course.
That wasn't a hold. I wasn't a hold. I'm like, dude, you had him right in like you were gonna kiss him, and they saw you.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. Like you got to, hey, man, let him go. Like that's a big play. Let it go.
Yeah,
Keep your hands inside, all that good stuff. Because that's a learned skill, like we talked about earlier in the podcast. That's a learned skill. Like to keep your hands inside and drive your feet is not something that's natural.
no,
When all of us boys, when we're 5 years old, we don't go outside and block people. We go outside and throw the ball, like
right.
or run the ball or catch the ball. So blocking people is a learned skill, and you get better at it the more you do it.
So let's talk about a couple of things. We got maybe 20 minutes left here. A couple of the biggest issues that we could talk about real quick here at the end, maybe, or should
Yeah.
we use these for the next one?
Shoot, let's talk about a couple of them, then we can lead off the next podcast with
Yeah.
some of them.
So
Yeah.
so I think I keep getting asked this a lot, and I go back and forth. What is your stance on a 2 point lineman stance versus a 3 point? Where do you
Mm,
drop in on this one?
I
You're old school 4 point, right?
well, I've seen that on the goal line. I'm 3 point.
Yeah.
Like I've been 3 point. I played in a 3 point stance, so that's just my preference. When it was third and long, and the teams knew we had to throw it, then 2 point stance is fine. But you also need to be able to run block out of a 2 point stance, so it's not always a tip off. But I've loved the three. I love the 3 point stance. I think you can run block, pass block. That's just my preference.
Yeah, I think at older levels, you definitely. I think either one works. I mean,
Mm,
prefer 3 point on runs, two kind of 2 point on passes. At the youth level, I know a lot of younger players just have a hard time getting out of a 3 point stance because of their hip muscles and everything.
I didn't think about that. I like that though. That's a good point.
Yeah, so we've gone to a low 2 point, which is we call elephant, which is you're almost where you can put your hand down and lean out a little bit. So we're still low. Our hands are kind of between our legs so we can come up and punch real quick. So we've gone to that because I'm more concerned about getting my hands on somebody quickly in my power step than trying to get out of a three step. So if we've got a player that can go 3, we want them to do that. But if they're slower, we want the quick feet coming out of that low 2 to get my hands on a guy.
I like that. I've never thought about that, but I definitely like that idea.
Yeah, and that's worked with a couple of our guys. Now, as we're getting older at 11U, 12U, we're pushing more of the 3 point stance. But if they're still having trouble, we're going to look for how quick they are on both. So
that's very good.
Let me ask you this: it probably at your level, maybe it's not as much, but or maybe it is. So, do you think it's more important to know who to block or how to block?
Oh my gosh, that's the question, isn't it?
That is the question of the day.
That's the question. That is, I think it's important. Now
I'll
go about it this way. So preseason, summer, those types of things, it's more how to block, right? So our fundamentals, you're working that mostly. And then as you get closer to the end of the summer, and then you're getting closer to the season, it's who am I blocking? And then you're obviously coaching fundamentals. You have your everyday drills you're doing.
Right.
But it's really making sure your guys know like their rules, right? Well, my rule on this play is this. And I say, early season, you're working more fundamentals, but let's say you have the days like the beginning of the season where you can't hit anybody. It's just helmets. You can work some fundamentals, but then you're also working in like your walkthrough periods, things of that nature. You're working, you're working who to block.
Right.
So you have to do both, but you don't want to turn guys loose like unblocked defenders, and you don't want terrible techniques. So it's definitely a balance of the two.
Yeah, for me at the youth level, I'm more at because we don't really have we have like 4 weeks in the first game, and so we're always about the rule, who to block, get in front of, and then we start working on more technique. But we're working on both. But the first thing is, who are we going to block? Because kids seem to have a hard time with the rules and if he's head up or if here, because we get a lot of guys, even though they know it's a down block, if a guy's head up on them, they want to block the head up guy.
Right.
So that's a really hard thing to break, even at older ages. I mean, so if you're supposed to step down, that's a deal there. So yeah, that's for me. Is I'm more concerned. Let's get them to who to block, and then we can work into more of the technique and where to go with that. But like you said, you're still working both, but your focus maybe sounds like our focus is a little different on that first part.
And then, yeah, I mean, you're working your practice schedule is built to make sure you're doing both well, right? So I have certain periods of practice, it's more fundamentals, and then certain periods it's more assignments. And even before practice would start, when I was just the O-line coach, I would take the O-line and we would go through assignments before practice started and pre-practice because that helps your practice run smoother when you're not having to explain that during practice at a slow pace.
Right. It's funny, we would do our 1-step, 2-step, 3-step, 5-step kind of track stuff and how we would do that. And I used to think, I'm doing this for youth and it's boring. I did it as a player too. And then, like I said earlier, I got those Cool Clinic DVDs and I'm seeing these NFL guys do the exact same little drills for muscle memory. At pro level, they're doing steps. And I think a lot of youth coaches forget that these little goofy step drills and where you're tracking and where you're supposed to go and kind of fitting are a big deal. at youth and at the pro level. Do you
Mm.
feel the same way about these, these step drills and bird
Oh yeah.
dogging and
Good O line play. Good O line play is good O line play, no matter what level you're at.
yeah,
And the drills are very similar usually. Like there's not a big difference there between youth, high school, and in college, in my
yeah.
opinion. That's what I've seen.
So I'll put you on the spot here. We're almost coming to the end probably of this. What would be two or three things
Mm,
from your point of view that you would tell an O line guy or some youth guys or just guys starting out to
mm,
coach offensive line? Uh,
mm.
your take.
Oh man, I would say
Did I put you on
learn.
the spot? I'm
No, I
sorry.
like that. I love it. I love this. This is great. Learn all you can,
Yes.
and then draw on your experience as a player, like what worked for me if you played offensive line, and then boil that down to a set of everyday drills. So let's say, like at the high school level, you practice 4 days a week and you play on the fifth. I had two different sets of drills, like drills I did on Tuesday and drills I did on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
have enough variance to where it's not the same drills every day, but those drills need to correspond to your scheme, right? So
Yeah,
don't just go on YouTube and find a drill and run that if you're it doesn't help your offensive scheme. And then
that's huge, Zach.
yeah, yeah, I'm like if you all you practice is pass blocking drills, but you're a run heavy team, that's not helping your linemen. Or let's say you're doing zone blocking drills and you're a gap scheme offense, that's not good either. So make sure that they complement the offense you're running, and then also know your line rules like the back of your hand. Like don't have to look at a sheet of paper to know, hey, we do this on this play. Know those by heart so you can teach quickly as your guys go through drills and through group work.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good stuff. I think for me, at the youth level, is if you're a head coach, you have to find, and
Mm,
I know it's hard. You've got to find an O line coach
mm,
that has played O line before. To me,
mm.
so
I
you
agree with
can,
that. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that statement.
because
100%. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can't throw a newbie over and expect him to teach that. The other thing I think I've said before is everybody's got to learn to block because they're young
Yes.
players. You don't know where they're going to be in high school. I was a lineman, became a running back. So
Hmm.
you may have a running back that becomes a tight end
Right.
that
Right.
needs to. So everybody really on the fundamental side, you've got to teach that base fundamental to everybody. And I would say for offensive line and your offensive guys, you've got to make it fun at the youth level to be an offensive lineman
Absolutely.
and glorify that. If
Hmm.
you can get that stuff past there, I think you're
Hmm.
so far ahead of the game at the youth
Hmm.
level.
Hmm.
Is you've glorified it, you've made it fun. There's knowledge,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Amen to
and
all
then
of that.
you
Yes.
can push all the other stuff,
Hmm.
but getting those things is a really big deal.
Hmm.
And with that, real quick, how hard is it? Because I had a high school guy ask me this today. I get youth guys asking me all the time. How hard is it to find qualified coaches at your level and that really are motivated and qualified to do it? Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah. I think it's more difficult now than it was when I started, which was 15 years ago, which wasn't that long ago. But it's harder to find at the high school level. It's harder to find teachers and coaches because that's really who you want. You want guys who are in the building as a teacher,
Right.
but then they
That
also coach, and
coach.
that's becoming a rare thing. So it's becoming more difficult, but there's ways around that. You're finding guys that work in the community that coach, and then there's more resources than ever. So I think it's easier to teach a guy how to be a coach now than it was when I started. So there's some pluses and minuses, but I think still you can find guys that are willing to work, who want to learn, and then you can help them become a good coach. You would just want to find a good man, find a good person, find a good man,
Yeah, good character.
good character, hard worker, and then you can teach them what you want to teach them scheme wise and drill wise.
So in your state, do you have to be a certified teacher to coach, or you
No,
can
you
get a?
don't. It's not like Texas. You
Yeah,
can,
I've been
yeah,
so
you don't have
upset
to.
about that. Yeah, you can't really. Private groups you can, but
Mm,
schools. But yeah, you have to be certified here to be able to coach.
mm. Yeah, not in Maryland, not in West Virginia, not in Florida or Georgia, I think. So
That's
yeah, you
great because
you
I
don't have
think
to.
that's a big help. So
Mm.
what else have we left out for today, or should we try to
Oh
close
man,
it?
I think that was beautiful. I think we have plenty of more things to talk about on our next podcast, but I think we hit some really good stuff today, and your wisdom was awesome. You did a great job as usual.
Oh, you too. Don't. Yeah, I'm just some dude. So you don't.
Not true at all. You were
I'm
you were the
embarrassed
man.
when you talk about me like that,
That's awesome. Well,
but I
shoot, coach, that's
appreciate it.
this is great. We'll do another one next week.
Yeah, let's jump on and do it next week.